We are now going to ask Jason to throw up the Nicholls State schedule. They started all off with Evangel on a Thursday night. Unfortunately, it's also a night I think the Saints have a preseason game. But
well, it's the last Saints preseason game.
Yeah,
so.
the who cares preseason game, I guess. Shouldn't say that because I'm sure there's some kids out there that are really worried about it.
Those final 3 or 4 spots. What's interesting, Game 3 at UL Lafayette. Brand new coach there. Oh man, that's gonna be something to see, and I think you'll be able to test how far you are playing against a team like that. Western Michigan on the road and UL Lafayette, and I think the big question mark with Nicholls is going to be up front, defensive line wise. Is can you stop people, put pressure on the quarterback? Their real strength is in that linebacking core. Jordan Piper returns. Paye Kamaya, I think is how you say it, one of the linebackers. Brandon Sanders, who comes in from Ole Miss, who's a defensive back. I think he'll really help them out there. And they got a big-time defensive back in Bobby Felder, who you will see return punts and kicks. He'll play on special teams. This young man's going to play on Sundays one day. And so it'll be interesting to see up front, because I think that linebacking core will be well. Can they stop the run, put pressure on the quarterback? The hardest thing to find a big lineman. At any level, if it's LSU, Tulane, Nicholls State, it's hard to find big linemen. And we know who's the stud of this group, Stephen F. Austin. I mean, They have emerged as the team in the Southland Conference.
And you mentioned about alignment and such. You were saying they might go to a 3-man front.
Yeah, 3-man front. And you play to the strength of what you have. And right now, the strength of that team is in the linebacking core.
Okay, let's take a look at LSU's schedule. We hadn't talked much about LSU.
Oh, goodness.
What do you think about that Oregon game?
I'd much rather play them first than, in the middle of the season, because that tempo of how they play offensively is going to be difficult for you to adjust to. Now you've had 6 months to come up with a game plan. My deal is I ripped that page right out of what Auburn did.
The one thing that's interesting is you mentioned a trap game for the Saints maybe against the Jaguars. As I look at this now, West Virginia.
Or Mississippi State. You look at that Game 3.
Especially being a Thursday night.
Thursday night game, and they're pretty solid. They're a pretty solid football team. But I think the big advantage LSU has is returning 4 or 5 starters, offensive line. That's the first thing I look for, offensive line returning starters. You have 4 of them coming back, and T-Bob as a guy that could start at center and guard. So really you have 5 or 6, so to speak, returning. They're going to score a lot of points. I think this is Jordan's year. He'll play well. Big question mark for me about LSU. Who's going to take Drake Nevis's place at defensive tackle? Who's going to take Kelvin Shepard's place? And can Drew Alleman, in a pressure situation, be as good as Josh Jasper? Josh was the best field goal kicker I've ever scouted at LSU in 27 years. And I know coaches.
Is Allamont a kid from Lafayette?
He's from Acadiana. And I know coaches said, oh, he'll step right in. He's just as good as Josh. Well, I ain't seen him in front of 85,000 people with everything on the line. You just think about those games. Josh came in there to help you win, pressure situations, gadget plays, everything he brought to the table. The big question mark for me on LSU, and this may be a surprise, I think their secondary is as good as anybody's in college football, is who's going to take Kelvin's place in the middle and Drake. Those were 2 big-time players for them last year. Can you get that kind of consistency and find the leadership both of them brought to the table and replacing Josh on special teams?
That's where it all starts with. Unfortunately, as always, whenever you're on, time goes by quickly. I certainly appreciate you coming on. We have about 30 seconds left. I did want to mention this. Obviously, we know now Steve Craigthorpe is not going to be the offensive coordinator. Quick thought on that?
Well, I think the coordinator is always the extension of a head coach. So I don't think you're going to see much difference of what you've seen in the past. I think it's always the extension. Coach Stud knows what to do, and that is hand the ball off to Spencer Ware, Alfred Blue.
Could be a good thing.
And the short passing game, which Steve has put in. You're going to see a lot more passes to the tight ends and backs than you've ever seen at LSU.
Very good. We start the season off with you in August, and I know we got the All-Star game coming up at the end. I kind of leave you alone in the middle there because I know you got so much going on, but we'll be listening. We'll see you on Saints on the Bayou. We'll see you as the host of the Charlie Stubbs Show. Thanks for coming on tonight.
My pleasure, Stan.
Always good to have you on. That's it for us Friday Night Sports. Remember, next Friday night, we are talking about the Saints against the 49ers in preseason action. That'll be a lot of fun. See you next Friday night, folks. Take care.